All right, so lesson 4-1, we are understanding equations and their solutions. So I can determine if the value for a variable makes an equation true. All right, so we need to remember that our variables here are our letters in our algebraic expressions. So we have not moved far away from those algebraic expressions that we talked about in last chapter. We're going to continue talking with variables. So here is a pan balance. So it can be used to represent the relationship between two quantities. It asks you to write an equation with a variable to show this relationship and explain. So please pause the video for a moment, think about it for a little bit, and then you can press play to continue to the answers. So we have here on my pan balance, I have 3 blocks on this side, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks on the other side. So one way that I could do is I have all these other blocks kind of lying around. I could say 3 plus x would equal my 9 blocks on that one side. So that's one way of writing my equation. I could easily figure out what x is, but at the moment, just to represent my variable and its relationship, that's one way you could have written it. Students have also decided to maybe multiply 3 times x equals 9, since those guys are multiples of each other and factors. So those are 2 ways that you could write your equation. So suppose down here at the bottom, suppose that you add 10 cubes to the pan that has 3 cubes. So I have 3 cubes and I add 10 cubes to it. And then you add 4 cubes to the pan that has 9 cubes. Would these be equal to one another? So if I have 3 plus 10, that is 13. If I have 9 plus 4, that is also 13. So yes, they would be equal. They would be balanced. All right. So let's go ahead, guys, to our first example here when we're going to determine whether a value is a solution to our equation. But first, you guys have 2 definitions to copy down. If you need to, go ahead and pause the video so that you can copy them down, because I'm just going to read through them and then continue. So if you need more time, make sure that you pause the video. So an equation is a mathematical sentence that uses an equal sign. If we have an equal sign, then we have an equation. And it shows how 2 expressions are equal. We've been talking about expressions. So expressions, I could say my x plus 3, that's an expression, but it becomes an equation as soon as we put that equal sign there. The solution to an equation is a value for a variable that makes the equation true. So what could I put in for my variable to make it a true statement? And we're going to look at that in this first example. So Jordan receives a $15 gift card for phone apps. He uses $4.50 of the value and wants to buy one more app to use up the balance. Which app should he buy? So over here are the apps. Let's see, if we have $4.50 is what we've used, we want to see how much more would I want to use before I have used up my entire $15 gift card. Okay, so here's my equation that I would use to substitute in my values. So first step that we're going to do is look at each of our phone apps. So my recipe app. Okay, so my recipe app costs $9.50. So if I have $4.50 that I already used plus $9.50, is that going to equal to 15? So that's what I want to determine. Is that the same? And if you use your calculator, you could see that equals 14. So is 14 equal to 15? No, it is not. So recipe app he could buy, but it's not going to use up his gift card. All right, so let's look at the sports app. Okay, so my sports app here, I have again $4.50 plus I have the $10.50, and I want to see if that equals 15. So I'm going to take my 450 plus my 1050 and see if that equals 15, and it does. Okay, so to use up his gift card, Jordan can buy the sports app here. But let's go ahead and just try the remote desktop, even though I think we found our answer. So here we have 450 plus 12. Is that going to equal my 15? So I have 450 plus $12. I get $16.50. Is that the same? Obviously not. So they're not equal there. So we know which app would be the best, which would be our sports app right here. Okay, so we would want to, Jordan would want to purchase W2 Sports. All right, go ahead guys and try the next one, the try it and the convince me, and see how you do. So go ahead, pause the video so that you can work on it, and then in a moment you'll see the answer appear. Alright, so here's your try it. Notice how I am still showing my work for each one of these and checking it to see if it is a solution. So I have 21 for my recipe app. I had $21 is not equal to $18.50. For my sports app, I had $20 is not equal to $19.50. And then my remote desktop is 21 is equal to 21. So that's why Tracy would want to purchase the remote desktop app. The convince me said, what do you notice about the expressions on the left side of the equation compared to the expression on the right side? So when you substitute in a value for one of the variables. So they are equal. If it is a solution like our remote desktop, we have both sides are the exact same. So left is equal to the right. Same value on both sides. All right, so here's our next one. So Maya has a total of 1,190 marbles in 5 boxes. She puts an equal number in each box. So which of Maya's friends, if any, correctly guessed the number of marbles, X, that Maya has in each box? All right. So we want to look at our equation here. So one way that we can have that is we can put 5 times the number of marbles in each box is equal to the total 1,190. Okay, so I can look at, let's start with Mary. So Mary over here, she guessed that the number of marbles in each box is going to be 234. So let's see if she is correct. So I have 5 times 234, and we want to see if that equals 1,190. So go ahead and take some time, guys. Type it in your calculator, see what you get. Our solution is 1,170. So Mary's guess was incorrect. All right, so then let's look at Beth. Beth's guess was 242. So let's see if Beth has guessed the same, the correct amount. So Beth has guessed, and she has 1,210. So that again is not the exact amount. So then lastly, let's look at Rob. Okay, so Rob here, we have 5 times 240. Okay, so 5 times 240, we get 1,200. Close, but still not correct. So no one guessed correctly. All right, so now we want to figure out how many marbles Maya did place in each box. So one way we could do that is to divide. We can take the total number and divide that by the 5 boxes that she has divided her marbles into, and we have 238 marbles. Okay. All right. So sometimes no one has the correct solution. All right, so here's another try it, guys. Go ahead and try it on your own using this equation. Substitute in the values of the friends and see if you can get their correct amount. All right, so again here I'm testing each of my responses here. So Julianne with 48, she again is off by a little bit. 12 is not equal to 13, so that is not a solution. Nico's here, 60 was his guess and 15 was the answer, so 15 is not equal to 13. And then Quincy, 120, so 30 is not equal to 13, so no one has guessed correctly again. All right, go ahead and pause the video one more time and do your do you understand questions. All right, so here's our do you understand question. So how can you determine whether a given number makes an equation true? If the right is equal to the left, there we go. We have a true statement. Okay, so Ben says that n equals 5, and that is a solution. How can we check whether he's correct? Well, if I take 5 times 7 here, I get 35, and that's not equal to 45, so Ben is incorrect. And then the last one, you are testing if 7, 8, 9, or 10 make true statements here. So again, we want to get where it equals 11, and only if we use 8 cubes does it work. So check your understanding. You can always ask questions, and you can begin working on your homework.